Hi, everyone. We have finally made it to the series. My name is Lenish Renee of LR Consulting Firm, and we are here. It is 2026. Happy New Year. I announced that this series was going to launch this year, and I meant it. And what better time to launch it than at the beginning of January? So yes, we're here, a framework for sustainable entrepreneurship. And before we get into the series topics for this session, let me give you some background. My name is Lenisha Renee of LR Consulting Firm. I am the CEO, the lead business coach, and lead marketing consultant here. I have been an entrepreneur for over 16 years. I have three businesses. One is a charity, another one is an investment company, and then, of course, as a coach and a consultant. Entrepreneurship is where I thrive. The same thing that I do for my clients, and under LR Consulting Firm is the same thing I do in corporate America. So I have been in marketing for 17 years. I have a master's in business administration, a master's degree in psychology and human behavior. My undergrad is also in business, so I love business. But let's get into this series because this is the ladies edition. I want to talk to my womenpreneurs and my mompreneurs in these sessions because that is really the core of our target audience. And I wanted to make sure that they had a voice, but also had a place for resources because when I started, there were not a lot of resources out there for me. And now what I've done is put all of these different topics that I've learned into this session. And hopefully, as we progress through this series, maybe we'll have, some other series that come from this, but marketing is so important. Branding is so important. So I want to start with branding. A lot of times, if you have started a business, I noticed that my clients skip over different steps under marketing and branding and developing their business. So today we're going to start grassroots, which is brand. And it's so important because the brand comes before the business structure. You have to identify who you are, what you do, the pain points that you're trying to solve. What is it that is going to have people gravitate to you? And it's the structure of who you are. It's who you are at your core. And people should know that before they even know what services or solutions that you provide. So it's all the brand is always before the business, and why is branding the foundation of sustainability, right? Let's talk about that. Why is that? Okay. The brand has to have clarity first. People have to trust you, right? There are so many businesses that when I do price structuring, if your brand has positive brand equity and your audience is the right audience and you resonate with that audience, they will pay for the experience that you give them. They will pay for your services or your solutions because of how you make them feel. But your brand has to enter before anything else, right? And it's a business asset. Your brand is essentially a business asset, and it's so important. The role of brand is you got to have consistency, right? You have got to have consistency across different channels within your business, right? From messaging, visuals, the customer's experience, the client experience. And I have something I want you all to do. I want you, as you're looking at this video, I want you all to take a look at my branding, my imagery. I want you to take a look at my color scheme, and I want you to go over to the website. I want you to go to social media. I want you to dive into, and this is just homework. I want you to dive into what my brand is saying to my womenpreneurs and my mompreneurs. I want you to look at my brand as the example because I show up first. Who I am as the brand owner, who I am as the business has to show up before any products or solutions, right? We always have to keep that in mind. Inconsistency within your brand is going to cause struggle for growth, retention, credibility. People have to trust you, right? Think about who you do business with, right? Think about the places that you shop at and why you shop. Just take a couple of minutes and think about it, really, and then write it down. Why do you shop where you shop? Why do you visit the online websites that you visit? Whatever it is, take an inventory of why you resonate with these brands and the importance of it, right? And then once you identify why you as a consumer are shopping or resonate with these brands, apply that into how you are targeting and speaking and messaging and bringing visual aids to your consumers, right? And consistency. Consistency is so important. If there's any inconsistency, you definitely lose trust. And if you think about it, there are all these other um positioning for me is power. Once you position yourself and who you are, what you stand for, even with a logo, right? And I'm bouncing back and forth between a few things because we only have so much time. I am recording this to see, what we do in the future. Maybe we'll have some lives where you can come in and ask more questions and we have more time together. So I will be cramming in a lot of information in this one video. So you can also reach out to me. You can go to the website, you can contact me through the contact form. I'm on social media. I actually manage my social media pages and I have no problems with questions. So moving on. Positioning is power. Once you position who you are and you understand how you stand alone and separate from any of your competitors, right? It is very difficult, even though we do competitor analysis, once you identify who you are, why you do what you do for your audience, and how you come across in your industry and in your market, that authenticity is going to show. Regardless on if you have competitors or not, we all have competitors in what we do, right? But it's about showing and showcasing your authenticity. It's about showing who you are because that's the only differentiator, right? You will never be like any other business or any other person, CEO running a business, right? You personally will always stand out, which means your business is going to stand out because you resonate in those areas, right? People will pick up on how genuine you are, right? And the other part is sustainability in action. We're going to go into that. And we're also going to talk about what should drive decisions, right? Okay, so let's get into the meat and the potatoes of this series, right? So, number one, I know I gave y'all a lot of information at first, but again, we're here for a short period of time. So, number one, brand before business of all things. The very first thing when I am structuring a business is I do a questionnaire and I have a brainstorming session to understand what the identity of the brand is. What is it that sets you aside from a brand standpoint, from the colors, your imagery, your logos? What will stand apart? What is your mission statement? What is your objective? All of these things are very important and they tie into your brand, right? And branding is ultimately the foundation of stability. You can retain clients and customers, consumers off of your foundation and your consistency. There's so many things that you can do. You can structure your pricing based off of your branding and your consistency. How brands clarify and make these impacts with consumers, clients, or customers it's it's the brand clarity, right? It will allow you to gain the trust of your audience, and again, going back to my original question, why do you shop where you shop? If you shop somewhere consistently or you purchase somewhere consistently, why? Why do you shop online specifically, when you think about and you do this whole list of these brands? Because at the core of business, every business is a brand. Every business is a brand. So why do you shop with these brands? How do they make you feel? What is something that, allows you to resonate with their mission, their objective, you know? It could be the quality, right? It could be how it makes you feel. If it's, retail, how does it make you feel when you put it on? What's the quality of the fabric? Or it could be how they showcase their ads, right? It could be the people that they use in their ads. Either way it goes, there's this thing that's called psychology. There's color psychology, where it taps into different areas within your psyche, right? You ever notice how all fast food restaurants have yellows and reds? There's a reason for that. There's a psychology behind that color. There's also subliminal messages that are put out there, right? You ever notice how the Wendy's little girl, I don't know if it's a little girl or not, but it's a female and it has mom spelled out in her neck piece. There are so many ways that brands are interceding and putting their statements out there, whether it's through color psychology and familiarity, right? Whether it's through subliminal messages where it's showing you an image of something, and in your psyche you can resonate with it and familiarize yourself with it, especially if it makes you feel like, hey, this is something that reminds me of me, or it reminds me of something that I like doing. um I really want this session to establish why branding it's not just a logo. Every time someone contacts me, it never fails. Their main thing is I want to, especially if they're working on a logo, right? Everyone attaches a logo to their brand, and that is not it. That is just the visual of your brand. That is the first statement of your brand when someone sees it. But the foundation of your brand is so much bigger. It's a huge picture. And there's a lot of tone, messaging, color. Who do you want to be seen on your website? And even tying into, we'll do a session that is about your website, because people think that your website is just a place where your audience or your consumers come and purchase or book, or schedule, and that's not true. Your website has to work for you, and that's where digital marketing comes in. But that's a whole other series. Let's continue on and talking about branding and the sustainability that's associated with it, right? Your brand has to be consistent across your messaging, your visuals, and customer experience. They all have to fall in line, and it has to be consistent, right? And again, when a brand is not consistent, the growth of your business is going to struggle. Your target audience is going to struggle. A lot of companies, you ever notice how they put out like these promotions? Hey, we're going to do a 50% off here, a 60% off here. They're just throwing out promotions, right? Now, sometimes it's because they're trying to get rid of prior inventory, but a lot of times they are trying to get people to purchase from them based on the promotions and not necessarily their brand and the authenticity of the brand. When I've never had to discount any of my services because there's quality that is attached to my services that we provide here and to our solutions. So you don't have to go out and push discount plans or promotions unless that is a part of your revenue strategy. Whole other conversation, or your promotional strategy. Whole other conversation. As I said earlier, there is so much to unpack in business and in marketing. Branding falls, under marketing, right? There's other alignments that fall under business if we're looking at categorizing it. And once you can look at the big picture and the subsidiaries that are under what those categories are, it will make structuring your business and how you think about the different areas a lot easier. Entrepreneurship it can be very complicated. It can be complicated. It can be overwhelming because it's so much information out there. But a lot of where it becomes overwhelming as a individual who's researching online and trying to understand and starting a business, it's because those steps are not there. You have got to identify that there are phases in business. Once you realize that there are phases and you don't have to rush, Because when you rush, you make ill-informed decisions. You make decisions that are quick, and then you have to go back and redo certain things. And a logo is an example, right? If you're I just had someone contact me not too long ago and was like, "Hey, I already have this logo. I have the prototype of this logo. I just need to get at this part taken out in this color." And then when I started asking questions about, "Well, what is your brand saying in your logo? What can you use your mark separately outside of the text of your logo? What statement are you trying to make with your logo?" And they couldn't answer my question because they're just looking at, I need to hurry up and get a logo to put in different places on creatives, on web, on web pages. But if it is not a logo that matches your brand, once you've identified it later on down the line with your audience may not like that color scheme. Your audience may not like. Now, I know some people are saying, well, I don't want to create a logo that is just for, my customers, consumers, or clients. Well, unfortunately, um, you have to think about your consumers. And that's why an exercise of understanding who your target audience is so important because you do have to cater to them. You do have to have imagery and color schemes that resonates with your audience, even down to the text and the font type of your logo. If you are in a very professional um area, right, of business, but your logo text is fun and whimsical, that's not going to resonate. There's so many times that um businesses, when they first start, they start business based off of what they want. They start putting their brand together based off of what they want, right? And then the further, down that you get and you start building that positive equity, then you realize, wait a minute, this does not match with the consumers that I'm trying to retain. And, that just goes into a whole other situation of branding. And it's just not a good exercise. Well, I'm not going to say it's not a good exercise. It is a tedious exercise when you're having to restructure. And what I am trying to mitigate is having any businesses not really think through their branding, not think through their marketing strategy, not think through their competitor analysis, not think through when they design their website and the functionality and features that are necessary for their customers, clients, or consumers. I just know what that looks like. It's not easy. So, um, another thing is, you have to have an alignment with your brand values and your customers' expectations as well as your business goals, right? Remember when I said that there's categories, right? You have your brand values that fall under marketing and then branding, right? And then you have your customer experience. That is a part of your business goals and how your business is structured. So your services, your promotional offerings, your all of those things, your revenue strategy, all of those things fall under the business goals. And then you have other examples that fall under marketing, where it's your brand values, it's your marketing strategy, it's your SWOT analysis, it's your competitor analysis. Once you break these out into categories, and you align the order, it makes it a lot easier. And it's not something where you have to do this entire dissertation on all of them. These are just points that you can write down one sentence to say, I want my target audience to be XYZ. Here's my demographics, here's my age range. And that's just from doing your own research. I mean, think about it. Chat GPT, if you understand how to put in the queries, oh, it makes life a lot easier. But how Chat GPT works in a situation where you are researching the type of business or type of marketing or audiences, target audiences, you first have to have your own baseline. You first have to say, hey, my audience is ages from 20 to 45. and they are in this region of the world and they like golfing. You have to be able to you have to be as specific in your queries with ChatGPT as possible in order to get the output that you're looking for. But it is a tool. It is a tool and a resource that was not available back when I started business. They were actual business plan software that $500, $700 a pop. And that was something that was, it wasn't inexpensive. It was very expensive, especially for you just putting a business plan together. But um, I I just hope that this is information as quick as I have went on here in this video. I just want to make sure that you all have a foundation and you understand your foundation. And this is the first area to focus in on. Again, brand before business, BBB. Okay. Brand before business is so important. Identify your brand, identify who you are, identify how it resonates with your customers, consumers, or clients is so important. There's a QR code here down at the bottom. If you all want to scan that QR code, it'll take you directly to the contact us page. And if you would like that, you can send additional questions, but you can also book a 15-minute Q&A with me on the schedule page as well. And I can answer more questions that you may have around some of the details that I provided in this part of the series. So again, I appreciate you all for coming. Happy New Year. I'm so excited to even get feedback from any of my listeners, viewers. If there are other series that you guys would like for me to do, if you want to do some live so I can get more detail, I can only get so detailed in a pre-recorded video. So I'm hoping that this series goes a longer way where I can help my ladies, my womenpreneurs and mompreneurs elevate and moving into, what their goals are for entrepreneurship in 2026. So until next time, where we will be talking the next part of the series, which is it's gonna be something else when we talk about website functionality and designing for your target audience. Also sustainability. Like there's so many areas of sustainability that we're going to address in this series. So I hope that you all will join me again. Please comment, please like, please share. I'm excited to see the businesses that flourish in this year. And yeah, until next time, you all have an amazing, amazing time finding out who your business is, finding out what your brand is. And until next time.